Welcome to Ask a Traffic Cop. This is the official channel of the Toronto Police Services Traffic Services Unit. Traffic Services, yeah, that's what we are. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Traffic Services Unit. I work at traffic safety programs, and I answer your traffic and police questions Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. live on the internet, wherever you are watching. That is where I am. We're currently broadcasting on TikTok, where we have over 500,000 followers. Thank you to all of you. We have Instagram, we have YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn Live. Yes, that's where we are right now. And if you are watching, know that we are listening. We are ready to answer your questions. If you are on Twitter, this is a temporary situation, but Twitter is not allowing you to ask questions. It's all their fault. It's not us. It's them, not us. Yes. If you want to be interactive, make sure you're watching on one of the other platforms, and YouTube might just be the easiest for you. It doesn't take any special skills to get to it. It is Traffic Services Toronto Police. I went full out, big budget on this sign just to make life easier for you. This is where you go. Good morning, Big Jeff Fresh, who's popped in from YouTube. One of our regular listeners, Akela Draconis, also coming in. Good day, I'm back, was the message. And yeah, things are exciting. It's exciting to be here. Quick thing to get out of the way. Vision Zero Enforcement Team. They are out and about in the city. They're in two different divisions, 13 and 43, and those neighborhoods, because divisions don't mean anything to everybody. Yorkdale, Forest Hill, Cedarville, Oakwood, Vaughan, Kensington, Chinatown, Bay Street Corridor, and University. Those are the neighborhoods that we are in. What are we doing? We're looking for people who are driving in such a way to increase the chance of serious injury and death on our roadways. We are seeing too many people getting hurt, too many lives being lost, and it's because of driver behavior, and we want to correct that. So what are the driving behaviors? Well, it's speeding, it's aggressive driving, distracted driving, or impaired driving. Those are the things that lead to serious injury and death on our roads, and those are the things, not the only things, but those are the things that you're going to get ticketed for. So drive slower, drive the speed limit, follow the rules of the road, keep everybody safe, because it's about being in this together. Shared responsibility, that whole traffic safety business. And what are we doing here? Why are we here? We are here to help you. We want to make sure that you are safer on the road, and we're doing that through education. That's a big component of traffic safety. We are answering your questions so you don't get tickets. Now, obviously, you might get tickets if you break the rules, but at least you need to know what the rules are. And if you have questions, if you have, maybe you think there's things that are rules that aren't rules. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to traffic law, and we are here to dispel those, rumors and things. You got questions? We'll talk about it. Loading is back. The man with the burble tune. Yeah. Welcome back. It's been a while. Okay. How does the new sticker regs affect trip permits? Do you mean in commercial vehicles or in civilian or non-commercial vehicles? Because in light trucks, cars, motorcycles, there's no trip permits in those. So I'm assuming you're talking about commercial. Let me know exactly what you mean by that, because I'm not following. Good morning, Will, who's popping in, one of our moderators. One of the first moderators. So who's he what?
Boop the Snoop.
Poop the Snoop? Pooped? What are you talking about?
Boop the Snoop.
Oh, we're talking about Bop the Nose. You're making up new words here. Q, who you just heard for a moment ago, is suggesting that if you are on Instagram, if you are on TikTok, that you double tap, triple tap, hit about 173 times the screen. That will show the algorithm that you like what you're seeing, that you're going to bring more people to the party. It helps advertise the channel. It helps us out because all we're trying to do is get the word out. So if you like the live, that'll help bring more people to the party. Also, if you have specific people that you like or care about or even dislike, send them the live, because that is the best way to share. It's a personal reference, and we appreciate it. Additionally, if you're watching on any of the other platforms, please follow, subscribe, like. Whatever buttons you've got available that are in the positive, please use them. If you want to ask questions, use the Q&A function. That is the question mark with the bubble around it on Instagram or on TikTok. If you are on any of the other platforms other than Twitter, which isn't working, just use the chat, and we will get to you. Now, if you ask questions in the chat, you're going to get answers in the chat, because I don't look at the chat. Except, at least not on TikTok. It's too many people. It's too much conversation. And we do have magical moderators, a band of merry moderators who are here to not only keep it classy and make sure that everyone is being kind, but additionally They answer questions if they know the answer. If they don't, they'll bring it to my attention, but I don't look in the chat. So no matter how many times you ask, I won't see it. And on that note, please don't spam, because if you ask things repeatedly, you will be muted. Let's see here. Neon is back. We haven't seen you in a while. Did you get a new phone, or you're using Twitch? So maybe you didn't get a new phone. But welcome back. Neon is a mechanic, so if you've got mechanic questions, we might be able to get you an answer. Alan, good morning to you. Alan's coming in through Twitch. Good to see you. All right. G license test, is it still modified? We have heard nothing to the contrary. So what happened in the province is that Drive Test took out some duplication. What they did was they took out the things that were also included in the G2 test, and they did that to save about 30% of the time required to perform a G test, and that allows more people to get through, and they know there's a huge backlog, so that's good, and that is still in process as far as we know. Are body kits legal? Are body kits legal? Bogers wants to know, and you asked twice, so I assume you really want to know. Let's see here. Are body kits legal? Body kits are basically things to make sure your wide tires are covered. There's nothing specifically illegal. There is a maximum width that your vehicle can be, but a general body kit is not going to violate that. As long as it's safe, as long as there's no contact with the rubber on your tires, that should be fine. If you have questions about the specific body kit, because I can't tell you that all body kits are going to be legal, you should check with a trustworthy mechanic, not one that will take any amount of money to say yes, one that will give you fair and real advice. And Q had sent me a note saying that the new test has no parallel parking, no three-point turns, and no emergency stop. Those are the 3 items that were removed to expedite the testing process. Thank you very much, Q. She also sent me a note saying that the maximum width on a width of 3.7 meters on 2-lane highways and 3.85 on multi-lane. What are you talking? This is lanes? What is this? Vehicles? This is, depending on the road, you can have different size vehicles. Is that what we're saying? Interesting. Either way, get some advice based on your kit. Is it illegal to watch traffic services while driving? Well, yes, it would be. There's no exemption for watching our show, no matter how wonderful we might think we are. Notice what I did there? So the deal is this: if you're watching while driving, that's against the law. But if you were to put it in your glove box and simply listen to us, that would be okay. Now, we are in the process of experimenting. I say we, which really means I. I am looking at putting us on a podcasting program, essentially taking the audio from this and making it available for download. So you, A, don't burn data, and B, it's audio only, and then you could safely listen to it while you're driving. But here's a question, and it's a question for all of you. Do you think that we should be doing a best of, where we take comments and questions and compile it once a week into one podcast where we remove duplications so you can listen to everything once straight through? Or do you want to hear just a live replay of this entire hour? Let me know. Put it in the comments. Maybe I should do a video about this so you can actually comment somewhere where I'll see it, because I just realized I'm asking you to put comments that I will not be reading because I can't read the chat while we're live. Just not enough time. But that is something I want to know, so keep it in mind. I'm going to put a video up possibly after this live asking that very question. But thank you very much for the question. You may have been just joking, but it's a real serious question because many people have asked it. When can I remove my sticker? Stickers, so here's the deal. The current validated plates are valid until the 31st. Now, that doesn't matter if it was expired March 1st or 2020 or later. That's valid till the 31st of March. Until you have renewed under the new system, which only begins on March 13th, you got to keep that validation sticker, whatever it may be, on your plate. Once you are under the new validation, they will likely give you instructions, but it's my understanding that you will be able to remove them after you have renewed, but not until then. Jason Davey comes in with a question from Facebook. What can we do about pedestrians crossing when the hand is flashing? It stops the flow of traffic and makes cars rush to make the turn. So pedestrians, when legally within the intersection, so when they're on a walk signal, you have to yield to them. Now, you have to yield, obviously, because you can't drive over people. That would be bad and illegal and result in many, many bad things happening. But really, it's just a matter of more enforcement and education. We need pedestrians to be as courteous to cars as cars need to be courteous to pedestrians. People seem to be pretty selfish, whether they're driving a car, riding a bicycle, or walking on the street. Everyone's about the me, me, me. We need to get on board with being cooperative in our driving, walking, and riding so that we can help traffic flow safer and safer and faster? Yeah, that's both sides of it. But you bring up a very good point, and I don't know what the simple solution is. All I can say is we need to help educate, and on the flip side, also do more enforcement. No one likes enforcement, though. I don't know. Nobody likes tickets. You think it would be so positive? No. Let's see here. Can I get a DUI for mowing my lawn with a beer? If you are walking behind your lawnmower, no, we don't DUI. You can't be charged for impaired operation of a lawnmower unless you're riding on it, because it is a motor vehicle if you're riding on it, and that would allow you to be charged. Now, here's something you may not know. Even a mobility scooter or an e-bike, if you're operating it on private or public property, you would be eligible for impaired operation offenses or charges, and that's criminal. If you are on a wheelchair, electric wheelchair, you'd be considered a pedestrian, though, and then you wouldn't be charged. But that's the only exemption. Like, that's the only motorized vehicle that would be permissible to consume alcohol. Things you didn't know until you asked us here. Check tire pressure. Okay. Neon reminds everybody to please don't forget to check your tire pressure weekly as it changes daily. Very good point. My tires look low, and that was one of my things to do today on my list. I didn't want to turn on the air compressor at 4:30 in the morning to wake everybody on my street up, but air pressure, that's what's going to happen as soon as I finish my workday. Now, that is because it directly affects the temperature directly affects the pressure in your tires. It's aside from leaking, it's just going to change as your air becomes more or less dense. It's a thing. You need to do it. You should be doing circle checks of your vehicle too. You just want to look at tires and make visual inspections as well. Maybe you've hit something, damaged something, there's a bulge. These are all things you want to be on top of. There goes my speech for the rest of my. What happened? Oh, so we have a thing. See, if I tend not to be able to speak or jumble my words, that is contagious. You may not know this, but it truly is. And now Q will not be able to speak for the rest of the day. She will be jumbling all her words, thanks to me. Can you explain the over decimal 0.8 and Warren rule for you put DD, but the deal is that this is for impaired operation. If you're driving a motor vehicle and you are driving with a license that allows you to have some alcohol in your system, so you have a full G and you're 22 years older or older, you can have some alcohol in your system. But if you were to be pulled over and a demand made for a roadside screening device for a breath test, you'd have to submit or provide a sample of your breath, and that sample of your breath would be, one sec, did I not press that button to put it on screen? There we go. That sample of your breath would come back with one of two things. Well, it could be one, it could be 0, or it could be a number. It would display a number up to 0.04. I think it gives you a whole number. I think it would say 49, which would mean that you're under 0.05. Once you hit 0.05, you're going to get something called a warn. That's going to give you a 3-day license suspension because you're over the legal limit to operate a motor vehicle, but not over the limit that would be considered criminal. That being said, if you got to 0.08, that is criminal, you'd be arrested. You'd be read a demand for a further breath sample to be taken by a breath technician, by an approved instrument as opposed to a roadside screening device, and then based on the results of that, you may be charged criminally. So that's the deal. Let me know if there's more you want to know about that. But let's see here.
Long one.
That was a long one, yeah. What is the
body? A long one.
Oh, you have a long one. That's okay. I'm not going there.
You go first. Not all one.
I want to. It's that kind of day, folks. It's that kind of day. Now, Neon said something about. Look at my comment about body kits. Body kits are legal as long as you do not go lower than 2 inches off of the ground. Okay, that's something that we've never really discussed. Thanks, Neon, for. I got like a feather floating around here. We have birds. We have. We hadn't really discussed the distance to the ground. So there's a lowering of the vehicle. And Neon had told us earlier that it's 1.5 inches from the original ride height for the safety side of it, from the mechanic side of it. From our perspective, we're going to be looking for body contact with tire, frame contact with tire when lock to lock, when compression compressed, when suspension is compressed. But the body kit being within 2 inches of ground is something I hadn't thought of, and that's good to know. Now go for your long one, Q.
Okay. So, someone in chat said that they had. At what point in time do you remove a handicap placement card from a vehicle? Their experience was that they were a child, their mom was in the car, drove to the store, parked in a handicap spot, went inside the store, and a security person took away their handicap parking.
Well, a security person does not have the legal authority to remove anything. They're security guards. They don't have authority. They can call someone with authority. A parking enforcement officer has authority. A police officer has authority. But again, security guards do not. So that's interesting. So first off, if your mother or the driver in this scenario had the authority to, they were issued that tag, that card belongs to her, then it's so that she can park. And if she's the driver, even if she's not in the vehicle when it's parked, it was parked in that spot for her benefit. So that's legal. If that is recent, and is that recent or is that an old story? I'm assuming that was an old story. So yeah, that shouldn't have happened. Sorry that you had that experience. I would have put a complaint in on the security company because there's a lot of people who don't know what their authorities are and overstep them. In any case, yeah, police or so here's a situation where you would have it taken. If the passenger, there's different types of accessible permits. One is for driver, one is considered, driver passenger or passenger only. So if the person that you're transporting, or person who is awarded that tag is only a passenger because they don't have a driver's license, then that's all it's good for. It's good for a passenger. At least that's my understanding. So at the end of the day, it's the person who it's awarded to that gets to use the parking. So let's say you drop someone at the door. The permit belongs to the person you dropped at the door. You are now solo, and you're an able-bodied person who does not have an accessible permit. You then drive to a parking spot. You cannot use the accessible spot. It is only if that person is in the car with you when you occupy that spot. And that happened to a friend of mine who dropped off their son with their spouse, and they got out with the wheelchair, and then he went off and parked in an accessible parking permit, not realizing of the situation, and they had their tag taken from them. And it created quite a bit of difficulty for them because obviously they needed it because the child is in a wheelchair. Let's see here. What is the fine for having a plate that you cannot read? Well, there could be many reasons why you can't read it, whether it be defective, peeled, whether it be defective and peeled, or peeled because it was intentionally peeled. There's some slight differences there, but in any case, no, it's not in good repair, or it's dirty, or it's blocked by something else. At the end of the day, it's $110. If you had actually done something to intentionally remove coatings and make it more difficult, there could be additional charges. But at the end of the day, $110 and no demerit points. What is the fine for a muffler delete? I believe it's also $110. But you would also be eligible for a charge of unnecessary noise, because if you have no muffler, you're running issues. Not only are you running issues for noise and not having a proper exhaust or muffler, you're also doing potentially damage to your vehicle. They're not designed to have no muffler. There's a whole thing about back pressure, and Sergeant Campbell, who was here yesterday and not here today, went on at some length about long-term effects of not having it. Let's see here. Oh, interesting. Here's a question. So 1 second. Sean Chen with a good morning, and I will check your DMs later. Rob Baker says, are Lambos, McLarens, and high-end vehicles targeted? Targeted for what? What is the question? Do you mean for noise or for exhaust? Because we're on the topic, so that might be relevant. Here's the deal. Unnecessary noise applies to any vehicle. So if it's a Honda Civic stock out of the lot, and you rev it up to 9,000 and drive at 20 kilometers an hour at 9,000 because that's how you roll, that's unnecessary noise. If you're driving a Lamborghini, you can drive 40 kilometers an hour in a Lamborghini, a 12-cylinder engine with the factory exhaust, and not make unnecessary noise. So at some point, it's driver behavior that comes into the mix. And Rob Baker qualifies that and says noise and speed. So I wouldn't say that Lambos or high-end vehicles are targeted for noise and speed. If they happen to make unnecessary noise or drive above the speed limit, they'll be stopped just like anybody else. Oddly enough, they are easier to notice and pick out of the pack. If you see something that is brightly colored and stands out of the crowd, then obviously it's easy to see through the mix. But I wouldn't say they're targeted. They just happen to stand out. Let's see here. Can I keep my NOS tanks installed empty on street? I did a video about this a couple days ago, and yes, as long as the tanks are empty and not capable of being deployed, then that's fine. You can have the tanks. And then there's some details. You should read the code yourself. I did put it on I did quote it and put it on the video, and if you pause it, you can read the whole thing. But it's very specific about how it has to be installed in order to be legal. What's the laws on Underglow? We talk about Underglow all the time. Wait, I have a sound. I have a sound for Underglow. Underglow. There's no specific law against Underglow. However, you can contravene, you can break other laws by using Underglow. So if the bulbs are visible, if you are directing light forward or back or to the sides, if you're using color that is not permitted, like red, blue, or green, those will cause issues for you. So two things. One, 1985 is long gone. Underglow's not as cool as it used to be. I lived through that firsthand. It was cool. Everyone had it. It's no longer cool. But if you are going to do it, I would suggest using it on private property when your vehicle is stanced and being, ready to show, or you're chilling out in a parking lot type thing. It's great to use. While you're driving, it's less good, and you don't need the attention. I don't mean personal attention. You might need attention. I don't know how you feel, but I mean you don't need police attention, and it does draw attention because suddenly we want to check to make sure it's legit, not breaking any other rules. So let's see here. 9K RPM at 40 fun. Okay, what's the what is the music change? What's with the music change? I noticed that the last few. There's not really a music change. I just try and play it at the end of the show now to buy some time, because whenever we hit end, we have to wait a few seconds. So I need a longer song. If anyone's got theme song, if you're a musician, if you want to write a song, we're looking for theme songs. You want to make a theme song for Ask a Traffic Cop? We want you to do it, but for free, because we don't have any budget. But if you want to do it, that's a cool way of participating. Let's see here. Neon has Underglow. Ouch! Which part of it?
How many demerit points do you get for going 33 over in a school zone?
Come again?
How many demerit points do you get for going 33 over in a school zone?
33. I gotta bust out the good speed calculator that I have here. 33 over. 33 over. This is a good one. So normally 33 over would be 4 demerit points and $238, including victim fine surcharge. But because it's a school zone, it would be $486. This is like a record. I've never used two sounds so close together. Why am I wearing cans? Big Jeff Fresh was making comment, noticing the headphones. You know what? I've been wearing in-ear monitors, which I love. I'm a big fan of these. I have wireless versions. I have these. I have a couple different colors. I love in-ear monitors, and this particular brand is one that I like a lot. I stopped wearing them recently because when I started transmitting on Instagram, I started experiencing a lot of feedback, a lot of interference, RF interference, and those are way more sensitive than these. So I'm wearing these. These are actually very comfortable, but I find less interference in them. I hate the buzzing sound. It's very distracting. Yes, the sound bar is working overtime today. I need to come up with some really good sounds. I don't like these. Laugh track, I don't think I need them. Okay, can I eat or drink while driving in Ontario? Yes, you can. There's no specific charges, not distracted driving. However, if that eating or drinking while driving causes your driving to be affected negatively, you're weaving all over the road, issues are happening, you could be charged with Careless driving. Yes, careless driving is a possibility. So it's within reason, right? Like you shouldn't be eating a 3-course meal. It is simply, take a sip of water, take a sip of coffee. Something you can still concentrate at the task at hand, which is driving.
School bus camera went through their lights by accident. Camera doesn't show who was driving. What happens?
It doesn't need to show you who's driving because the charge is against the owner. Now, I'm assuming you're in Ontario. Are you in Ontario? We're waiting. Okay, charges that are in that situation, like red light camera and speed cameras, automated enforcement cameras, are written under law that allows the owner to be responsible. If depending on where you are, I don't know if the law is set up that way, but if it's an automated system, it would be against the vehicle. Now, we're waiting. I think things are changing in Ontario quite dramatically. Some new laws coming into play when it comes to school buses, and part of that is going to be making the driver, the vehicle owner, responsible. No demerit points, from my understanding, when that happens, but still not fun. Yeah, and I don't know if that's in place yet. I gotta do some research because the only 2 laws that I'm aware of that are currently in play in Ontario would be for the speed and red light. What are the laws on personal motor vehicle tint? So we have videos on this in particular. You can watch ridiculously, repeatedly if you wish. But the deal is that you can have no more than 30% light blockage on the windows left and right of the driver. You can have nothing on the front windshield other than a 3-inch or 75mm tint strip, sun strip across the top, and that is only for vehicles that are manufactured before 2017. So 2016 and older, you can have that tint strip across the top. Vehicle windows behind, so rear passenger, rear windshield, you can go as dark as you want. That's no issue. You don't have to have windows at all, in fact. But that's the deal with those tint rules for Ontario. Different provinces may have different rules. Let's see here. All right. Are tinted taillights legal? That's a continuation of the tint theme. Tinted taillights are... So they have to be discernible at 150 meters to be effective, to be functional. If you start messing with them, they may not meet that requirement. Additionally, tinting taillights leaves evidence. When we investigate a collision, we see it. The insurance companies see it when they own your car after it's being written off. Those things may change the tide. They may change the way a report is written to make you more responsible than you might have been otherwise. So it depends. The answer is, generally speaking, when you tint it, people tint them, black them out, and they're only visible when the brake is depressed, and it has to be visible all the time. I see Giancarlo in the area. I think that's Giancarlo, my old partner. What's going on, brother? We're live. We're live. Okay. Let's see here. License plate stickers, what's the deal with it? We have a video about license plate stickers, but essentially the provincial government has changed the game, and you will no longer need to pay to renew, but you will have to still renew. That system comes into play March 13th, very, very soon. So if you have a sticker that is either expired from March 1st, or March 1st, 2020, I should say, or it's expired since February 28th, which was the original extension end to the extension. They've extended that further to the 31st of March, and you are eligible to renew as of the 13th when their system, whatever that looks like, comes into play. We got a party in here. Okay. Let's see here. Would speed or red light camera ticket affect your record? It's issued to the registered owner of the vehicle. It is a financial only. It does not affect your driver's license. It does not affect your insurance, from what I understand, because I've spoken to some insurance folks, and they look at your driving record, not your ownership record. So there you go. Hey, and just in case you didn't know who I was, and you've been watching this guy going, who is this? Who is this guy? He's got no hair. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on social media answering your traffic and police questions. Now, we are in Ontario, Canada. The laws here are specific to Ontario. Things may be a little different where you live, so if you're from somewhere else, let us know where you're from when you're asking the question, so we can let you know that it may be different where you are. Just to remind you that things could be different where you are. What else can I tell you? We do this Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We have a lot of fun doing it. We're often asked why we do it, and we do it because when would you normally have the access to a police officer to ask them questions about traffic law and traffic safety and general police questions? Hey, you want to become a police officer? I can help you with that too. I can actually help you with it, but I can tell you where to go. www.torontopolice.oen.ca/careers. And the reason for that is we are hiring. I bring it up because we're hiring. Not only are we hiring police officers, but we hire other positions. Whether you want to be a civilian member, a special constable, a station duty operator, communication operator, we have lots and lots of opportunities. If you are in the chat, know that I'm not watching the chat, but we do have moderators. They're volunteers, not paid members. And we would ask that you be kind, polite, courteous. We're a community here. We're all trying to do the right thing, at least in terms of getting your questions answered. If you are spamming, if you're being rude, know that the moderators aren't going to put up with that. They're going to mute you and possibly ban you from the room. We don't want to have to do that. We want to get along. We want to get to your program. We want to get to your question on the program, which we have 30 more minutes of. How often are there ride programs? We do ride programs all the time. There is every season is ride season. Impaired investigations or ride programs are conducted regularly throughout the year. We do have that holiday ride where we have a ton of them all the time. We publicize it, but we are always looking for impaired operation offenses. And we announce, in fact, I'm going to do a video tomorrow going into the weekend, how many people we arrested last weekend. Normally we do it on Mondays. Today we're doing it, this week we're doing it on Friday because we're going to change it up a bit. Rob Baker wants to know what my all-time favorite motorcycle is. Oh, that's tough. I love riding the police motorcycles. That's my favorite thing ever. I mean, they're a pretty bare bones motorcycle, but I do like them. I do like riding them. I've got a Honda as my own bike. I've got a Valkyrie. Let's see here. Friend question: what's the fine for a tint brow for a 2016 and newer vehicle? So having See, technically, it's not safe. Once you have any tint on the windshield for 2017 or newer, I would say it's a $110 ticket for driver view obstructed, and then you could also lose your plates because you're no longer passing the safety requirement. We know this, so we could take your plates and you could find a tow home, which would not be beneficial to you. It seems minimal. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Not worth failing your safety. Okay. What are the rules for non-OEM mods on trucks? Depends on what the mods are. There's no simple non-OEM. OEM generally means factory, but you could get a stick-on air intake, fake intake duct. That's a mod. It's not OEM. Wouldn't affect anything. So it depends on what the modification you're talking about. Let's see here. What is this? What's the most expensive ticket you've written? Well, so once you get out of the range of $500, and I've written many cell phone tickets. Cell phone tickets are $615. Once you get above that, you're pretty much looking at no fixed amount. So when I arrest someone for impaired operation, you're looking at the potential fines well over $10,000, and in addition, you're talking about $30,000 to $40,000 in defense fees, paying a lawyer to defend yourself. So that's expensive. When you take someone's vehicle and you impound it, they're looking at the towing fees and storage fees, and those are usually $1,500 or more. Anything that you do can be very expensive, and it's not money that goes to the police or the government necessarily. When you talk about towing and storage, that's going to the company that tows and stores. That's not because people always say, "Oh, you do this because you make money." We don't make money at that. This is about keeping people safe, keeping the roads safe, and discouraging people from breaking the rules in the first place. Let's see here. Arjun wants to know, what advice do you have for those people who drive with their high beams on constantly and don't realize it? So something you need to know, if you are driving with your daytime runners on because you never turned on your full headlight system, you're actually running on your high beams, and you're blinding people. So not only can you be charged for improper headlights, you can be charged for improper taillights, you can be charged, what else can you be charged for? That's probably about it. But check your lights. Make sure. So many people rely on the automation of headlights. It's kind of sad. And I've done it on occasion. I have automatic headlights. I take it to the mechanic. They turn it off. I can drive, and I'm like, why is it so dark out here? I forgot to turn them on. You know what? Pay attention to your vehicle. Make sure that do the circle checks. You are responsible for that vehicle, and none of us are perfect, but we try. We do our best. And very often when people rent cars or borrow someone else's car, they totally forget or they don't even know. They just assume the lights are going to be on like their own vehicles are. So that's when we see it. Or impaired drivers tend not to turn the lights on properly. We're always looking for it. We stop and charge people. Can you use your phone if it's on a car mount? No, you cannot. Use of the phone is not connected to mounting. It cannot be it cannot be used regardless if it's mounted, other than the simple on or off, answer or hang up. That's it. Those are the two things you can do with your car. Now you can use your GPS you can use the GPS app in your phone. You can set a destination before you begin driving, and then you can look at that screen in that mode. That's the only screen you can look at, other than the telephone screen when it rings. You can't be watching a podcast or our show. As much as we like the viewers, it's not legal. Can't video conference either.
Are white turn signals legal as opposed to amber?
White turn signals, white turn signals, you're projecting a light. It's generally considered blinding. You can't go white, especially in the rear. It's a problem. The only rear white light you can have is your reverse lights when you're reversing, and the license plate lights that are only like 3 candela. They're not. You can actually get a ticket for too bright a light on your license plates, and you can't have anything other than white for your license plate lights. Things that people don't know. I see all these cars with blue lights on their license plates. Are wide body kits illegal on cars? Not necessarily. We talked about that earlier. I don't know if it's the same question. No, it was a more recent question. And the thing with the wide body kits, and Neon, who's a mechanic, mentioned they have to be, was it 2 inches, at least more than 2 inches off the ground? I don't think I can scroll back enough to see that. You cannot go lower than 2 inches off the ground. I don't know why wide necessarily means a lowering kit, but in any case, that's a piece of information we get to share from our friend Neon.
My wife is going to Toronto soon from Alberta. Is our handicap parking spot pass good in Toronto?
Yes, we accept, if you're visiting, we accept accessibility permits from anywhere. So if you have one, we will accept it, assuming that your vehicle's from there and your license is from there, or at least the person that's in it is from there. If you are just using an out-of-province or out-of-country permit, it won't be accepted unless you are yourself from there. How are you looking up a car register in Quebec? We look it up in our computer, which interfaces with all the provinces and even the United States. We can look up licenses everywhere. It's amazing. Some things take longer than others, but we can look it up. Let's see. What license do you need for a three-wheeler? A three-wheeler? Like, are we talking about a three-wheel motorcycle, like a trike, like the slingshot? Those have a special designation, and they only require a G license. They do require helmets, and they are considered motorcycles, but they have an exemption for the license anyway, because they drive like cars, even though they are motorcycles. And for the longest time, they were motorcycles requiring motorcycle licenses, which is, weird, but makes sense because they're licensed as a motor. There was something called a T-Rex that I used to see on the roads all the time. They're very cool. They had like Gixxer 650 or more rear ends, essentially. They cornered like they were on rails. I used to ride with them in the mountains, and they passed you like you weren't moving because they could. What is this? Drake says he always drives with his high beams on. Really? I don't listen to Drake, so I can't speak to what he says or doesn't say. But that does sound rude. Let's see here. How do SIU find officers misuse police computers for personal gain? I don't know the ins and outs of their conversations or their investigations, but I imagine if you, first of all, everything we do in a police computer is tracked. So if we pull up somebody's information and there is no connection to anything we're working on, I imagine they would do inventories of that or investigations once in a while to check to see what you're doing, and they get caught. People do it, and it's a problem. Let's see here. Is it legal to pull over on the 401 shoulder for a nap? No, you're not allowed to park on the 401. It's an emergency stopping area. It's dangerous to stop on the side of the highway. You don't do it unless you absolutely have to. You don't want to be anywhere near a highway unless you're moving on it. But if you break down, you have no other choice. That's what the shoulder's for. But taking a nap, no. Pull off the highway, find somewhere safe. How do we know if we have cats or not? Your choice in feline is not up to catalytic converter. I get it. Catalytic converters, you can see them under the vehicle. It's something that if you know what you're looking for, they and police officers do. We have mechanics. We have police officers that are mechanics, and it's amazing. We find things. What is this? What's the fine for having a flag on a vehicle? there's no fine for having a flag on a vehicle. There's a fine for obstructing your vehicle's ability to see, or the driver's ability to see. So you can't cover your windows. You can't have something that's flopping around obstructing other vehicles. You can be fined for having an insecure load, depending on how you're affixing that flag to a vehicle. But simply having a flag is not in itself an offense, at least not one that I'm aware of. If someone can tell me what the offense is, I'd love to hear it. Okay, we talked about cats already. Dogs are a different story. I'm sorry, I got bad dad jokes today. What's the process for becoming a police officer? That's something we haven't talked about today. www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers is where you'll get all the information about becoming a police officer or a member of the service in any capacity. It's also where we post all our job postings. There's a lot of fantastic opportunities, but becoming a police officer in general, you need to pass a physical, an academic, and a psychological in order to get to basically a job offer. Before you even get to an interview, you've got to pass your academic and physical requirements by getting in. I think you still need an OACP certificate. You also need to have a certain level of health in terms of vision requirements and so on. All that information is on the website. Check it out. If you have further questions, definitely reach out to our employment unit, our talent acquisition unit. Do TPS special constables have HT authority? They do not stop people for highway traffic act offenses. No, they are not. They are not doing that. Oh, Jitacall, I noticed you this morning when you were on Instagram. Welcome to the party from this side. It's weird not seeing you on the other side. Are you on both platforms? What's going on here? Okay.
I'm not the only one that is across all platforms, sir.
This is true.
When we talk about the fenders and tire rub.
Well, I'll go out in 1 second. I just pulled up something from Night Danger, who asked, how are they going to enforce parking tickets now? So parking tickets, if you don't pay them, they won't let you renew your license plates. You still need to renew your license plates. There's just no fee involved under the new system. So they'll, I assume, will stop you from renewing your license plates, at which point you'll be not legally permitted to operate your motor vehicle on the road, and then you'd have charges related to that. So that would be a thing. And sorry, the question was body rub on a vehicle from the tires? Is the question? Okay. So the deal is, so when we do an inspection, if we anticipate that there's a problem with suspension, ride height, and so on, or camber of tires, we will ask the driver. We'll have them we'll do an inspection. We'll have them turn their wheels lock to lock, and we'll look for tire rub. We'll inspect the tire itself, looking for tire rub. That's rubbing against the body or the frame out either direction. We do a basic check. We're not mechanics. Some of us are, but we're not generally mechanics. We'll look at the ride height. If we compress the suspension within reason, does that change anything? If it does, your vehicle's unsafe. It's not being driven. We'll take the plates and we'll get you towed. And that's not a good day at the office. At the end of the day, you want to make sure your vehicle's safe. It's all in the interest of safety. And now, for when it comes to camber, the issue is you're not riding on your tire in the appropriate area. You're changing your contact patch, and it's unsafe. Additionally, if you have stretched tires stretched over a rim, being that the tire is not the right size for that rim, that is unsafe, and we'll pull you off the road for that. Things you need to know. What is the hardest thing about your job? Waking up at 4 a.m. No.
Not paper cuts?
Paper cuts are not a thing for me. It's keyboard cuts. It's not a lot of paper here. Lately, I've been using these cue cards, and these are dangerous. But the deal is actually, when I was on the road, the hardest thing is actually dealing with people who are suffering horrible loss. They've had a collision, someone didn't survive, or going and dealing with somebody's life, because it is their life that we're dealing with. When you go to help someone and they don't survive, I'm far removed from the road, but I've recently spoken to a friend of mine who's in the matter of a few months has performed CPR on a number of victims in collisions, and one of them survived for a few days and then died. Some of them just don't make it from where they are, and it's hard. It's hard. You're out there helping people, and I know he was dealing with a lot of stress because of those incidents, and that's just a snapshot from a few months. It happens all the time. So that dealing with other people's grief, it gets to you. But in terms of the general process of a day, paperwork is a lot of paperwork. Okay. Contested a ticket, can I renew before it's resolved? If you have not been found guilty, if you've already filed for a court date, I don't imagine that's going to be an issue because it's not against your license. It's not against your registration at this point. It is still before the courts. If you never filed, then it would be against you. That's different. Do courts have video proof of speeding from police? I'm not sure what your question is. Do you mean that are police providing video proof of you speeding? Video proof isn't required for courts. We testify based as operators of speed measurement devices as to what our findings are. So we don't need video proof to enter it. Now, we might have video evidence or not evidence, but video of the events. But usually that's just audio of our conversation or parts of the vehicle stop. It's not the events, but per se. How far can speed cameras catch? I have no idea. It's not a Toronto Police program. I do not know. I imagine it's when you're in front of them. So, can I turn left? Can I turn left on turn signal off, but light green? What? Can I turn left? Can I turn left on turn signal off, but light green? I don't know what you're talking about. Q, do you understand?
No advanced green light. If it's just a green light, can I turn left?
Oh, yeah, unless there's unless there's a sign preventing you from doing that, you can turn left even if there is no advanced green. I think that's what we're talking about. Okay. Question from Rob wanting to know about, what is this? Have you ever charged anyone for damaging or disregarding a Canadian flag? I have not. I've just never come into a situation where that was warranted or even on the table. Drug overdoses and suicides have to be rough to view. They do. You see a lot of death and destruction on our job. Sadly, you get kind of used to it, which is not something that anyone should really get used to. But it is something. It's a reality of it. How do officers keep their mental health okay after viewing those things in person? What do you do? So you know what? It's different for everybody. Everyone deals with stress differently. There are processes and programs in place to help us. We have a fantastic health plan. We do have mental health as a part of that. We do have peer counseling. We do have friends and families. And one of the things that historically people in our position didn't do is share. We don't want to take home the heartache to our families, so we didn't share. And that added, right? And people had different ways of coping, and everyone has different ways of coping. But taking advantage of the opportunities to speak to colleagues, to friends, to not just keep it inside. You know what? It's okay to cry. It's okay to have a hard day. And there's stigma surrounding mental health, but we're all human, and everyone has a breaking point. And do I get emotional sometimes about the stuff that I've seen and experienced? Sure, I do. I talk to people about it. Take advantage of it. Doesn't matter what you do, whether you're a police officer or any job out here, anything that you do, whether it's personal stress or work stress, don't feel like you're alone. And don't bottle it up and find healthy ways of dealing with stress. But you ask a good question because it does build. And we talk about PTSD as a single event when you went and saw something and bad things happened and you had a mental break or a breakdown. And it's not only a single event that can do that. Years of minor events add up. Cumulative PTSD. It's a real deal. And there's lots of good people who have either ended their lives as a result of that mental health situation or have just changed. So, we really want to make mental health regardless of your profession, we want to stop the stigma. We want people to be able to get help. So thanks for bringing that up, making it all dark and gloomy in here, Rob. No, it's good. It's a good topic. It's always good to talk about this stuff. Can police ticket for drifting on a private parking lot? Yes, we can. As of September 12th, 2021, the law changed in Ontario, and not only did they get longer suspensions and impounds, but they also got the ability to charge, and the Highway Traffic Act extended on that charge to private property. There were already charges on private property. For instance, failing to report a collision on private property was something that you could be charged for when it came to private property. So it wasn't like the Highway Traffic Act never dealt with private property. It is just that this was an additional charge that was now available. So where it was previously not enforceable, it became enforceable. And they were very specific when they wrote the law. Underground, above ground, like farmers' fields, everywhere is listed on this in this act as to where you cannot drift. And it's not just drifting; it's any stunt driving. So more than having someone in the trunk, not being behind the wheel of a car. Tons, and I shouldn't say tons. There's a bunch of different things that classify as stunt. But I will bring this to your attention. Criminal code always applied to private property, and if you were drifting per se, in such a way that you were close to people, and that was putting the public at risk, and the public could be anybody, not just even if they wanted to be there. You were putting people at risk, and that was criminal. That's a criminal charge. We don't even have to charge you for under the HTA for stunt driving. We could charge you criminally for that. So it's not so new that, and people are all upset about it, saying, "Oh, this is my rights, my property. You can't." No, we've always been able to arrest people on private property for certain behaviors. So things you didn't know until you knew. I don't know what this question is. Speed allowance for responding volume FF in an 80 or 90. What? I don't know what this is. Speed allowance for responding volunteer firefighter in an 80 to 90. Volunteer firefighters are not allowed to speed. There's absolutely no exemption for volunteer firefighters. The only thing that they get is a flashing green light that allows them to notify people in the community that they are on their way to a call, and that is a request or a courtesy that people can get out of the way. But by no means are they permitted to exceed the speed limit. Fire trucks, if they're in a fire truck, they can, but not on their personal vehicle. Let's see here. Is it true that truckers longer than 6.2 meters are not allowed in the left lane of 400 series highways? I'm not aware of that. My understanding is it's all based on signs, and if there's a sign that says trucks can't be in the left lane, then they can't be in the left lane. If they don't have a sign, then they can be. That's my understanding. I'm not someone who Toronto Police don't patrol the 400 series highways. There may be some other laws there. I'd have to look it up. I'm just not familiar with it. Question about what's the difference between MTO enforcement and TPS commercial vehicle enforcement? Are there, Are the TPS commercial enforcement part of traffic services? Yes. So Toronto Police Traffic Services has a commercial vehicle team. Those officers are certified for commercial vehicle inspection. They are many of them are mechanics, and they have more authority than the MTO, but they have the MTO authority and police authority. But they do base out of traffic services. Let's see here. To be honest, I like auto headlights. They are in my truck. Just in case I forgot. My van, however, does not have auto headlights, so I make sure they are on. Good thing, yeah. If you're aware of the technology that you're relying on and don't get in the habit of just assuming it's going to work like so many people do, then you are doing well. Rob Baker, you are the man of many questions today. What's my favorite snack when I was on the road? You know what? I had depending on where I was, I would find my favorite restaurant. But I'm eating healthy. I carry my own food today. Not just today. I try and bring my own food every day because I don't want to. The cost of food is going up. I don't want to be a fast food guy. Okay, but I did move to salads. Is installing a siren on your car illegal? Yeah, you can't have a siren. Simply installing it, I don't know if the presence of one would be illegal, but certainly having a siren unit that was capable of doing that. Let me rephrase. Attaching a speaker to your car, I don't think is an issue. The siren box that is capable of emitting that siren sound, I believe it is illegal. I'd have to look up the details. Essentially, you cannot have a siren sound on the highway. You can't create that. There is an offense specific to it. Now I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up because I'm curious. Okay, what is the charge? What is the details? What is up? Let's look it up. Highway Traffic Act. Siren. I'm going to do the keyword search. Have a siren. It says have a siren. So no vehicle other than an ambulance, fire, or police department vehicle, public utility, emergency vehicle, or vehicle operated by the ministry shall be equipped with a siren horn or a device producing a sound which so nearly resembles that produced by a siren horn as to deceive or confuse. That's 75 sub 6, $110, no demerit points. There you go. Installing a siren, simply being there, would be an issue. But a lot of people asking about cats. You can generally see the cats under the vehicle. That's the thing. We look for them. But these are things that people steal in parking lots. Honk my horn or what? Oh, Q says if you have cat, we honk our horn, and if you have a cat, it'll run out. Bum bum bum. Let's see here. I have inspired Q into the realm of dad jokes. Yes, the world has changed today. Akela says, I drive a Toyota Highlander hybrid. Did you look at those for new vehicles? I sat in one, I think, and I kind of fit in it. I have to sit in one again. But for those who don't know why I'm talking about this, Akela, yesterday or the day before, I mentioned the fact that I'm investigating a more efficient vehicle, and Akela is suggesting a Toyota Highlander. So I'll check that out. I'm open to anything. I'm 6'5", I'm a big guy. Anyone with a suggestion as to what I should be driving, let me know. What happened to the batons? Do you mean the straight sticks, the PR24s, the Monadnocks, or Tonfa, I should say, because we had straight sticks and we had PR24. Anyway, they went bye-bye because we got friction lock batons. So, yeah, but when I started, I had a straight stick. Someone really wants to know what happens after the third DOI. I believe it's a lifetime ban, but I have to look it up to be certain because I have not looked at that recently. And things, as I cram lots of information in, some information falls out the other side. Only so much I can have in my ready to spiel brain. I do my best, but I forget things, and that's one of the things. I know. I think it's actually. Yesterday, Sergeant Stein said that the DUI and stunt and impaired were almost the same consequences. And I believe your third stunt is lifetime, so I think it's the same for DUI. I'm going with it. I could be wrong, but I'm going with it. How many hours of volunteer to become an officer? You can't volunteer into being an officer, but having a healthy commitment to volunteerism is something that we look for in officers, or at least candidates for police officer. So if you want to be a police officer, volunteering in your local police service, not police service, but in your community, the community you want to serve, is a definite way to go. And just we have 49 seconds left on Instagram. If you don't want to say goodbye, if you want to continue listening to us, because we might be here for another 5 or 10, you can follow us on YouTube. YouTube, somewhere here, I have my fancy sign, which is going to be backwards. So this is absolutely useless to you, Instagram. But Traffic Services Toronto Police on YouTube, that's our channel. All of our previous archives are available there. Check us out and join us. Shift over to the other side if you want to still talk, because we might be here for another 5 or 10. Okay, so in terms of how many hours, I don't know if there's a specific number as to how many you must complete to become an officer, but it is something, like I said, if you're going to be wanting to protect and serve the community, you should be involved in it, well in advance. Let's see here. Oh, here, Q pulled it up. Those convicted of a third or subsequent conviction face the same consequences as a second-time DUI conviction through the license suspension. Through the license suspension is though the license. I can't read today. What do you want from me? Okay.
I don't know if you're reading too.
So it's though the license suspension is permanent, and why can't I read this? Though the license suspension is permanent and the mandatory jail sentence is minimum of 3 months, a 10-year to lifetime license suspension, a fine, which maybe I shouldn't be reading this because I'm just making a mess. 120 days of jail time, and it may go up as the discretion of the judge. Yeah, so essentially, lifetime license bans, 10 years bans. There's all sorts of things in there. We should look this up and read it. And I'll actually create a video on it when I'm not just trying to race through it. I find that speed reading when live on the internet is a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Okay. Okay, Kayla, we'll talk about that. Fine for muffler delete, I believe it's $110. We talked about that earlier. Is weaving in traffic illegal? Weaving would suggest that you are either driving or not either using a phone impaired. Weaving is not a type of driving. That is something that is subject to investigation and possible charges. No one weaves in traffic. If you mean aggressively moving through traffic, it could be stunt driving, depending on how it is going. You can't be, chopping through traffic. It's not safe. Speeding to get to the hospital in labor, what happens? Well, chances are you're going to get pulled over. Chances are we're going to call an ambulance and have a professional driver take you to the hospital while another paramedic treats the person who is in labor or needs to go to the hospital. Do not speed. Ever. There's no exemption for it, ever. And the deal is that you may never get to the hospital. We talk about guaranteed arrival. It's a big thing in policing. We can't help anyone unless we get there in one piece. So while we may want to get to save the day in our own special way, the deal is that we got to make sure we get there. And you, if you're going to the hospital, need to make sure you get there. Otherwise, there's more patients being created and more emergency vehicles being utilized to help save the day. So what am I getting at? Don't speed. If I pull you over, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to call an ambulance, and I'm going to wait there while I write you the ticket, and then you're going to go to the ambulance. Okay, maybe you'll get a break, but you're not going to be driving any further. It depends. I can't say that I would or would not give someone a ticket on that. I'm not sure. It hasn't happened yet. I certainly wouldn't let you drive away, because then I'd be liable for you, and I'm not doing that. I'm not throwing away my career for someone who wants to get there and is stressed out. Plan ahead. When my wife was having our two babies, two separate babies, but the deal was that we were there hours in advance because we were planning. Now, obviously, you can't always plan, but that's what ambulances are for. That was way more than I planned on talking about. Okay, Tint Tozy says, tickets to drivers, leave 5 minutes earlier. Yeah, it's all about planning. This morning as I was doing the speed limit on the way to work and I was being passed like I wasn't even moving, I was thinking about what would I say on the show today about speeding, and then I forgot all about it until our friend from Montreal just made a comment about leave 5 minutes earlier. Do you know that they end up in the same place at the same time? It is such a false what is it? It's called a myth that when you speed, you actually get somewhere faster. Yes, I know that if you sustained at a higher speed over a given period, you will get there faster. But on the average drive to work, 20 to 30 minutes, that increase in speed does not get you anywhere faster. In fact, you're usually at the next set of lights when I get there, and you've doubled your increase, well, let's not say doubled, we'll say increased dramatically your possibility of being involved in a collision. And that collision could always result in serious injury and death. Because you're speeding. The slower you go, the safer you go. That's the deal. But, it's always interesting watching people speed.
Mistakes were made. Sorry.
It's okay. I see Big Jeff Fresh and his ideas. Rabbit holes, but I don't know about Alice. He says I should start calling me Alice when I go down the rabbit hole. But anyway, a couple of invites for people going live with us. Just to let you know, we don't go live with anybody unless we know who you is. Is it hard to become a police officer nowadays? It's always difficult. It's always competitive. It is always a challenge because there's more than just applying. It's passing the tests. It's passing the interviews. It's passing background checks, psychological checks. It's a big deal, and it's competitive. Does a red light camera have to have signage? Yes, I believe it does. Although it's not something that we monitor or are involved with administrating, I believe that red light cameras and speed cameras both have signage related to them. And if they weren't there, they may not be properly there. What's the word I'm looking for? No. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but I'm going to move on. Do you randomly run plates while driving around? Randomly? I don't know how randomly. If I see a car, I may run the plates. If I'm behind it, the opportunity is there. I run plates all the time. Used to use the sticker as a direction. Sticker looks like it might be out of date. Run it to confirm. Now I think we probably run more plates, and we'll probably end up seeing technology move in where we see more of it. We have the Street Sweeper project in our parking enforcement unit that looks for stolen vehicles. Those are plate scanners. That technology is being in use in the States for a long, long time. I think OPP have it on their cars. Just driving around, it automatically alerts when a plate is either stolen or related to someone who's wanted, or so that we might see that. In any case, yeah, I would randomly run plates all the time. Let's see here. But I also investigated cars without running plates. It depends. Observe something that didn't look right, wheel tracking. There's a million reasons why. Let's see here. Can you be ticketed for running a stop sign in a parking lot? Stop signs are not enforceable on private property. Now, if you're doing it because you're driving at 100 and doing it, well, that's going to be something that that could be dangerous driving, could be stunt driving. But simply rolling a stop isn't something that we would charge on or could charge on private property. Let's see here. Who has the right to go first in a light? What do you mean? When it's green, the people who have a green light get to go first. So I don't know what you mean. If you're talking about making a left turn, you can't do that. That'd be a jackrabbit start. That would be stunt driving. So let me know what you're talking about, because I want to give you the most appropriate answer, the correct answer. Are highways actually patrolled from air for speed? Actually, it depends on who, because in York Region, they do have areas that are patrolled by aircraft. OPP does the same, where they have markings on the ground and someone in a plane is actually measuring your speed, and then a ground unit pulls you over to issue the ticket. It does happen. We don't do it in Toronto. Motorcycle plate sideways, what's the fine? $110. You're not affixing your plate appropriately. You have to have it horizontally. It has to be easily legible, and putting it sideways is not appropriate or correct according to the Act. Let's see here. Can your car get towed if you lower your car? Yeah, if your vehicle is considered unsafe because you've lowered it too much, your car can get towed and your license plate seized, at which point you have to go get a safety and then reapply. So yeah, we take cars off the road for being unsafe. Could ATVs become street legal like a motorcycle? No. Those are off-road vehicles. They have specific conditions that are met in certain municipalities, but they're not road legal. They're plated, they're insured for specific, there's certain jurisdictions where you can drive them on the side of the road or something up to certain speeds. I'm not familiar with them. Sergeant Campbell, who is not here today, is more familiar, and we can talk about that another day. But I don't know the deal, because you can't have them in Toronto at all. Hey, look at that. It's 7 minutes after 10. And with that, we are going to say goodbye, at least for today. We'll be back tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. for, oh, wait, is it? Tomorrow's Friday. Awesome. It means I have to put the garbage out tonight. But it means that tomorrow is Friday, and we will be back to do this all over again. Maybe what should we do on Friday? Q, what should we do to make Friday different? Do we do a longer show? Do we do like a dance track? I don't know. Something to make. We have to somehow celebrate Fridays.
Track. Here I was getting excited, thinking that you're going to dance.
I'm not dancing. I'm not dancing. But maybe we just have some music or something. I don't know. Do something different. But your thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. Let us know. Send us messages. Anyway, have a great night. Be safe, and we will see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Have a good one.
Bye.
I really do need a theme song. My friend James was going to write one for us, and it just hasn't happened yet. Just saying. Okay. That one is not. We are off, but we are not off here. To everybody who's been spending time with us here on, the other platforms, the Twitch, the YouTube, thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then. All the best.